Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another recap of Welcome to Plathville. This is season 5, episode 4, Life's But a Walking Shadow. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this episode. The thing that stood out most to me is that this lady really just said to her 17-year-old son, you should get a girl, I'll get a guy, and we'll go on a double date to the Keys for the weekend. He is 17. Kim, you cannot be this dense. You are still married to his father. There is nothing cute or funny about suggesting going on a double date with your 17-year-old son. It just anyways, we begin with Olivia heading back to Cairo to see Ethan to help him out with some of the cars and celebrate their 4th wedding anniversary. They have been apart for over 2 months, so she's really excited to see him. So she arrives at the shop and they embrace in a way that makes me feel like they actually really did miss each other. She admits that in the past, she did think Ethan's cars were an issue. Him constantly working on them was a problem for her, but she no longer feels that way. And I think that's because they did a lot of work and had a lot of talks that they previously didn't have. And because of that, she now feels like they're in a better space. So she's ready to get to work to help him get these cars done so that they can celebrate what they need to celebrate and get out of Dodge. So this one particular car that they're working on, I think they said it's the Plymouth. I'm not sure. Correct me down below if I'm wrong. But this one particular car that they're working on is very special to them because it is the car that they left their wedding in. And that is also a car that they had one of their, dates in. So the plan is for them to take this car, if it's fixed, and drive it to their anniversary date. She says that she has no intentions on seeing any of the Plath family while she's there, but she's just happy to be there and relive some old memories. So Ethan says that he does wish that things were better with his family, but at this point, he's not going to keep trying. His hope is that over time, things will fix themselves. So we later see Ethan and Olivia celebrate their 4th year anniversary, having dinner where they had their first date. Ethan talks about how different things are this time because the first time they went there, and neither one of them have been back since that date, which makes me wonder if it was really that great of a place if they've never been back. But anyways, um neither, what am I saying? He talks about how different it is now because the first time when they went to this very place, he was nervous and all these other things. And now he's going with this person that is not just his wife, but she's his friend. So he goes, they sit down. He talks about how the first time it took him so long to order to the point where the waitress came to the table like 3 different times to see if they were ready. But what it was that he was overwhelmed by everything because he didn't know what some things were and he had to read everything. There was a lot of items on the menu and pictures of those items are kind of what gave him the idea of what to get. And after all that time it took for him to order, and Olivia had to wait on him, he ended up getting spaghetti. And I think that even in that, it's a very clear indicator of what their relationship was because it seems like Olivia often had to wait on him. So they talk and they laugh and they do a cheers to 4 years, making sure that they look each other in the eye because Olivia found out from one of her brides at the most recent wedding that she did that if you don't cheers and look in the eye, you'll have 7 years bad relations. So overall, great scene. I think Olivia and Ethan seemed like they were in such a good place here. They looked happy and they were flirty, and she didn't seem to get irritated when he made certain comments that were sexual in nature. She just embraced it. Ethan thinks that they're better because they spent a lot of time with each other. They had a lot of talks in Europe with no distractions, and they actually, worked on things. Olivia thinks it's because they had little to no contact with his family. Clearly, she got a problem with the Plaths, and she feels like they do cause issues with their relationship. And she may be right, because who knows what went on off camera. She says that when they were in Europe, there weren't so many other voices involved. They could just be. Ethan feels like, with that being said, moving to Minnesota is going to be good for them too, because a lot of those voices won't be there. Ethan asks, how long until they can have kids, and we find out that they're going to be working on that night. If I didn't know what I know now, I would think that a few years ago when they did this, that there was hope for them, but we know that that's not the case. It's just there wasn't all the tension that there's been for several seasons with the two of them. This was very much so giving back in the beginning where they seemed happy with each other. So that's the end of their celebration. So we jump to Lydia. She's back home. Apparently, she's been working and she's been traveling. Isaac himself has been working, so they both play catch up with one another. They both have seen Ethan since he's been in Cairo, and they haven't spoken about their underlying issues, which is, in this case, the post. She says after she made the post, Ethan had contacted her, told her that he wanted to talk to her after he got back in Europe. He left Europe, came back to Cairo, and said nothing to her about the post. Lydia says that at some point, I don't know, I'm not sure if he asked her to come up there or if she just happened to be up there, but she went to see him, but he was so into the cars that he barely noticed or spoke to her. I personally feel like, Ethan, that's rude. If you did not want to have the conversation right then just say that, but don't completely ignore your sister, because who's to say the next time you would be able to see her. So Isaac says he and Ethan are on good terms. He's seen his brother, but when they've seen one another, they haven't talked about this. Like, they've talked about everything but this, because the both of them are trying to avoid the drama. Isaac feels that if someone tells lies publicly, like Olivia did, with the credit card situation, then they should be called out publicly. My question is, Isaac, if you yourself said that you guys haven't spoken about this, then who are you to say whether or not Olivia was lying? It sounds to me like you just once again listened to your lying mama. So Isaac feels like Ethan seems like a different person now. And I think that's part of the problem with not just Isaac, but his other siblings and the adults in the family as well. Because y'all keep talking about how Ethan is a different person. And it sounds to me like you're blaming it all on Olivia. But at this point in his life, when he is in his 20s, Ethan should be a different person. It's 4 years that he has been married. He's not that little kid on the farm anymore. He is a young man that is married to a woman, and he has now created a family with her. There should be changes in the way that they interact, but they struggle with having healthy boundaries within those changes. My opinion, tell me yours. So Isaac wants to know how Lydia is doing with the whole divorce thing and everything that's been going over the last few months. And Lydia says, it's still a struggle for her, but she's doing much better than she thought she would. She says that, even though her and Isaac are close in age, that this conversation with them is a little awkward because they really haven't had a lot of one-on-one interaction over the years. She feels like their maturity levels are different. And I got to agree with her there, because I will say I often forget that they're close in age. Aren't they like, what, a little over a year apart? But Lydia seems so much older than him. And I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of responsibilities that she was forced to have as older young ladies left the house. A lot fell upon her. As her mama left the house, even more fell upon her. So they ask each other about their dating life. Neither one of them is spilling the beans, but I guess they're open to dating. So we go from that scene to Micah. He's, still in town, and he's working on his boat that he's had for a while now. He says one of the things that he hates about LA is just sitting around and doing nothing, to the point where his calluses are wearing off, and he can't have that. So he is working on his boat. His father comes out there and he tells us how he has seen Ethan. He feels like they're good, but they still haven't talked about a lot of stuff. Y'all aren't good. If you don't know where your brother is going to be staying when he moves to Minnesota, if you have to ask your dad certain questions about your brother, you guys aren't good. Y'all are being cordial to one another, but y'all aren't good. So he never asked Ethan if the situation was true. And Ethan told him that Kim did steal from him, but Micah doesn't see it that way. Micah, this isn't your story. It's not your situation. Stay out of it because you don't know the ins and outs. If Ethan is saying that his mother stole from him, then trust your brother in that. For real, you shouldn't be getting involved in it at all. And I halfway wonder what the response would have been had Olivia not revealed this information and had Ethan done it himself. So Micah tells his dad that he's still bothered by the divorce because he doesn't get why this is happening. And he met with his mom, and his mom isn't really explaining it either. And Barry's like, look, at this point, because Barry don't know himself, Barry says, we just got to give it time. Maybe you'll figure it out in time. I'll explain it to you, Micah. Kim wasn't satisfied with your daddy. Kim felt like it was time for her to do what she wanted to do. Certain things were lacking, and I think Kim got some attention and found what she was looking for in someone else. That's my opinion. Tell me yours. And here's the thing. I have no problem with Kim deciding that she no longer wanted to be married. My issue with Kimberly Plath is that she did not make sure that she handled this in a way that protected her kids. Kim is about Kim. So Micah says he still feels the same way about marriage as he did before, even though, things have gone wrong with his parents and he's seen different things with his siblings, that his end goal is to be with someone for life. So he's looking at his dad and he's like, I feel like you're in a much better state. And Barry's like, he is. He's not in a space where he's going to continue to try to bargain for, someone's love. And I think that that's very true. I think that Barry has his faults. I think that Barry was told certain things by Kim. I just don't think she was willing to work on things with Kim. And excuse me, I don't think that Kim was willing to work on things with Barry. And as a result of that, you can't say you're unhappy. The other person tries to do things to help the situation, and you're not willing to do something as simple as going to counseling. Kim was checked out the moment that she said that she needed time. So he says at this point, his goal is to stay young, which is why he's been going to the gym and it's why he's been working out. And Micah feels like he's really working out to make sure that body is good for the ladies. But Barry says he's not thinking about that. He's like, look, the ladies that I'm focused on right now is I think he said six daughters that I have. He's focused on his kids. And I do believe that Barry is very much so focused on his kids. He seems to be carving out time for them. He seems to be putting effort in with them, really trying to make sure that they're okay as well. There are times where I feel like he gives a little bit too much info in terms of, his feelings and all those other things associated with the divorce. However, I've also noticed that he is checking in on his kids. I don't see Kimberly really checking on hers. I see Kimberly meeting with them to further plead her story. They both do the same thing, but Barry's given a little bit of variety because he's still showing up for his kids. So let's get to this next scene. I don't know why Kim was at this airplane scene. And the moment that I saw her, I already knew, like, okay, Kim, you clearly are interested in this guy. So we are introduced to what will later be Kim's boyfriend, Kim. Isaac knows him from when they worked together at the airport in Tallahassee. The fact that this boy is 17 years old and he's been working for this man for over a year. Like, when did we do schoolwork? Does Isaac have his high school diploma? Put it down below if you know. Because once again, education to me, I wonder if it was something that she improved upon. Anyways, so they've been working together now for over a year doing aircraft maintenance. Isaac bought this airplane with this man with the help of Kim. So it's a 50-50 type of situation. She got him the loan. They went half on it. Isaac is crediting his mom for allowing him to do this and helping him with this, going out of her way for him. I think that Kimberly also did this as a way to have Isaac like in her camp, because both of these parents at times, whether they like to admit it or not, to me, are trying to make sure that the kids are kind of on their side, even though the both of them will say that's not what they're trying to do. Kim, we find out, doesn't consult Barry at all on this. My question is, after multiple seasons with this show, where's the money? Because with the amount of time that they've been on this show, I would think that Kim has enough money to help put down a decent down payment with this thing. I just worry about having such a big expense for a 17-year-old, because how much is he supposed to be paying monthly to Ken or to her or to the bank, whomever he's paying for this loan? Yeah, he's 17. When do kids get to be kids? Anyways, so she's talking about how nice it feels not to have to consult Barry about how she parents the kids. So basically, you guys get separated and you feel like you no longer need to have a co-parenting situation, because in my opinion, she should have consulted Barry about this. But she says if she did, this probably wouldn't have happened. Meaning that Barry was the holdup in everything, I guess. So we know that Isaac's dream is to become a pilot, and he knows that having a plane at 17 is a flex. And I think, she kind of fist bumped him, and that's when she blurts out, get a girl and I'll get a guy and we'll go to the Keys for the weekend. And Isaac's face says it all. He's like, he's bothered. Kim, why would you think that your son would be okay with you saying something like that to him? You're still married to his dad. He says, how about I get a girl and go to the Keys with her by myself? Exactly. Kim, I need you to stop trying to be your kid's friend. I really do. I really do. You're married, lady. Sit your happy tail down somewhere and focus on getting a divorce rather than trying to be a friend to your kids. I'm not saying, here's the thing. I'm not saying you can't be friendly with your kids. I joke around all the time and say that my daddy is my friend. And when I told my dad that a while ago, he was like, "No, I'm not. I'm your father." But I have certain conversations with my dad that remind me of talks that I would have with friends, which is why he's my friend in my head, but I'm not his. It's a one-sided situation. Okay, so Lydia and Mariah spend time together while enjoying a bonfire. They talk about Mariah's newfound peace and her glow since this whole baptism. Um, Mariah admits that she struggled for a long time, feeling like she wasn't good enough, and she had to remind herself all the time that she is. Listening to Mariah talk in this scene, as well as later on with Barry, this is more about herself, in my opinion, than having a relationship with the father. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with Mariah and the way that she views herself, and getting counseling and learning how to deal with her issues, I think would really be beneficial to her, because she is not confident. There is still some depression in there. There are still struggles with her esteem. And I think that she thought that getting baptized would fix a lot of this when there's more that has to be done. She tells her sister that, her relationship with God, because they're talking about how now they could talk more and relate more about certain things. And she's like, Lydia, I just want you to know that our relationships with God are going to be different. She says she'll be the itchiest, put a B in front of it, Christian that people met. I personally don't think that that's funny. I hope that the goal is to lead in love, but Mariah, she wants to be a rebel. So in our final scene, Barry goes to Tampa to see Mariah. They go to a kombucha, I always say it wrong, bar, because Barry's into it. Is kombucha like alcohol? Alexa, what is kombucha? According to Wikipedia, kombucha is a fermented, effervescent, and sweetened black tea drink. Okay, Alexa, stop. So it's a fermented tea. That means it got alcohol in it, Barry. Do you know? That might explain why they were so giddy. Anyways, so they go for a kombucha tasting. Mariah says at this point, she feels like her and her father have gotten a lot closer and they're making up for lost time. She reveals that she wants this huge tattoo on her arm, on her forearm right here, that says rebel. So Barry's like a rebel, for the father. Um, or a rebel against evil or something like that, he says. And to my shock, Barry doesn't blink. I have tattoos, you guys. And my reaction the first time my son came home with a tattoo was very different than the reaction that we're seeing here with Barry. Now, here's the thing. My son, he just turned 19 on the 28th. Happy belated son. Anyways, um and at the time, this was a couple months ago, back in the summer, cuz I was gone when he did it. Before my son's wanted a tattoo for a long time. I think he was like 15. No, 14 when he started talking about tattoos. And I'm a little old school in my thoughts, so I told him he can get one when he is 18, and I'm not paying for it. He needs to pay for it on his own. I also told him he has to be careful because he has very sensitive skin, the kind of skin that you could do like this and he'll whelp up. Um, I told him what he wasn't allowed to do, like nothing on your face, nothing on your neck, nothing on your hands. Make sure if you get it, it's in areas that can be covered up for when you decide, once you're done with, college and stuff, and you get into a professional work environment, you want to make sure that you look appropriate. Some people may disagree. That's fine. This is my standing while he's in my house. And hopefully he maintains that thought once he gets out. So his first tattoo he came back with, it was a big behind, like bigger than my hand right here. Eyeball, like the whole shape, like all of this. It's my eyeball. But the point is, it was so big and it caught me off guard. And my reaction was like completely different. Then the next one, yes, too. The next one he comes up with is covering this whole piece, and it's a lion. I'm a Leo, and then 84 for the year I was born. Very sweet. It's dedicated to me. Loved it. I think I hurt his feelings by reaction initially because I was so upset that he did this without consulting me, but he technically did because we had talks before. I just thought I would be involved in the picking out the tattoo and all that other stuff, a little bit of trying to control the situation. I know, Tisha, stop it, girl, but this is what's happening. Anyways, so my reaction was like, this is fake. And I went to do like this. I had no intentions of hitting it, but I went to do like this and he flinched. So I was like, oh no, it's real. Why would you do that? That was me. But Barry, he was calm. Like he had no reaction for real whatsoever. He doesn't say, no, don't do it. Instead, what he does is he make jokes about it. Talking about what it's going to look like when she gets older, how when you get older, your skin sags, and her grandkids will sit on her lap and have to smooth out her skin to see the word in the future. And it's a cute, funny moment. And we go from them joking and laughing to a more serious topic because Mariah tells Barry that there's a part of her childhood that she tried to completely block out. And when she said it, I was scared that something inappropriate had happened with her. And here's the thing, I'm not negating what has happened to her. I immediately felt a pit in my stomach. But what we learn is that Mariah has alopecia. So when she was 3 years old, out of nowhere, all of her hair fell out. Her hair on her head, her eyelashes, her eyebrows, they were all gone. And her form of alopecia is rare and she struggled with it. She says that not only did people make fun of her and kids made fun of her, but her own siblings made fun of her. I would hope that if the parents knew that they did nip that in the bud, but I'm not sure. She says that she didn't want people to know about it. So like even pictures and things like that, she didn't want that to be shown. But she said that struggle is part of what made her feel like an outsider because it made her feel different from everyone else and it made her feel like she wasn't accepted and it felt like she couldn't be loved and no one would love her. And there were times where she told herself that. And I was listening to her talking and it broke my heart hearing that because I can't imagine what it would feel like to be so young and be dealing with something so serious. And then I found myself feeling bad for her now because oftentimes people, myself included, because I have spoken about how I feel like she fried her hair too much with the bleach. Um, we got to be careful sometimes about what we say, because maybe some of her loss has nothing to do with the chemicals. Maybe it has to do with other things as well, because alopecia isn't always spots. I do have a friend from high school that has alopecia, and it strikes out of nowhere. At one point she had long locks all the way down her back, and she struggled with her alopecia, so she cut them out. Then she was bald for a couple of years. She started it back up again. And the other day she was on Facebook saying that she was about to cut all of her hair off and just be that way from here on out, because and she showed us like how she was styling her hair to cover up the spots, and it really does like come straight out from the root and creates a bald spot. So you just never know what people are going through. So when she was talking, I got a little teary-eyed, because I couldn't imagine feeling that and experiencing that, and especially at such a young age. So she says for her, clothing was the way that she became accepted. And I was like, okay, so this explains that. That's why she takes so long to get dressed and all those other things, because she says when she's having a bad day, she changes up her outfit because her outfit helps her mood. Once again, she needs counseling. Like, this is so much deeper than what we know. So Barry's like listening to her, and of course he's telling her that she's loved and she was beautiful and all those other things. And he says he never understood how bad it was for her, but he does know that her case was bad. And all he could do at the time was tell her how beautiful she was, tell her how much he loved her, and wait for the body to self-correct, because there was nothing that he nor doctors could do. Mariah admits that she is finding her worth, which is part of the reason why when she feels like, something's going on, she's so quick to shut people out and handle things the way that she does. Find your worth, but do it in the right way. And part of that way is seeking, help and doing more reflection. And I hope that she at some point really does it, because even here in season 7, I feel like Mariah is a very depressed person and that she has a lot of stuff going on. And it's just sad. Anyways, that's all I got for this episode. If there's something that I missed that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. Like the video as it helps the channel, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're on the road to 4K, and I hope to get there sooner than later. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, peace.